Welcome to the second part of our glow effects. Before moving on, if you saw that there are too many files in your project panel, you can simply hide them. So just grab them like this, Command to grab more, right-click, hide, and now they're not in sight. If you wanted to see them again, right-click, view hidden, and then you get to see them again. So this is great for when you have a long project and you want everything to be organized. So let's move on to our second effect, which involves something really simple. We're going to start with an easier version and then move on to a harder version. So let's grab this video. The subjects are wearing something really shiny on their faces. And using a simple fast box blur effect, we can just make the jewelry stand out. So this is great for like jewelry commercials where you want to make everything look shiny and great. So duplicate your clip, Option or Alt, click and drag, and we're going to get the fast blur effect, add it on the top video. Go to Effect Controls and increase the blur amount. Then change the blend mode to lighten. The more you increase this, the more shiny the jewelry is going to be. I'm going to stick with like 30. So now my subjects have this glowing jewelry thing on their faces. This is before, this is after. If it's too much, you can always come back here and reduce the amount. If you want it to be a little bit more intense, you can copy and paste this effect in the same project. So now my subjects have this really shiny jewelry on their face. And you can try this with some black and white editing. So I'm going to go to the Lumetri workspace and just remove the color from both videos. This effect concerns light, not colors. So I can just remove that, and already you can see that I'm getting this desaturated effect. If you want to take it a step further, go to the bottom video and change the saturation too. So now I have the glow on my jewelry and the video is black and white. So this can make your video look more luxurious and more high class. And one more thing that I wanted to mention about effects is that they are very similar to transitions. You have to take a look at what's happening inside the video before adding on a certain effect. So just like transitions, if it's really intense, really just crazy, then you don't want to add it on top of a video or a movie scene where everything is chill. So you have to pay attention to what's happening and then decide which effect you want to put on. So in our previous example, I had a dance video for that glowing neon lines because dance videos are pretty epic on their own. They are made to make the audience excited, build adrenaline. So if I add those neon effects to it, it's just going to help the goal. But if I had a movie scene where someone is crying, then I don't want to add that neon glow line because it's going to not only ruin the mood, but make your audience confused. So pay attention to what's happening in the video before you put on an effect. So for example, here, these two people are showing their beauty with the jewelry and their outfits. So I'm adding this black and white to make this look like a really high-class jewelry brand and make this look like a proper commercial. So neon lines will not look good here because the subjects are posing in a really still way, and that glow line will just ruin the entire video. All right, so this was the easy method of this technique. Let's take it a step further with another video. So let's bring in our next video, which again has jewelry. So over here, we're going to do something a little different. First, let's get our adjustment layer. When your effects get complicated, you want to do them all on your adjustment layer and not on a duplicate. If it's simple like the first example, then you can just do it with a duplicate. So on this adjustment layer, we're going to begin with the Gaussian blur effect. Add it right above. Go to Effect Controls. First change the blending mode to screen. It's going to make it bright. And then we can increase the blurriness. So I'm going to start with 50. And then down here we have blur dimensions. By default, it's on horizontal and vertical, which means that the blur is happened equally throughout your entire video. But if I choose one of these, I can just get it on one line. So let's go to like horizontal and increase it. So notice how I'm getting like these lines on the edge of my subject in a horizontal way. Turn it to vertical and I'm going to get it like this. So just by changing these, we're going to get a different result. I will stick with horizontal and maybe change this back to like 100 so that I get a different result. Let me just show you what it looks like with the default setting. Duplicate this, go on here and make it horizontal and vertical. So this is what you usually get with Gaussian blur. This is what we're getting right now. So there's like little flares, and the more we add, the more visible those flares will be. I will go with a higher number. I can always come back to this and change it. So you can see we have these lines here, but here we don't. Delete these. Now go to your adjustment layer and change the way the lighting looks using Lumetri color. So this is our original video. You can see that now it's just way too bright and it's not looking that good. Go to basic correction. We can start with like some contrast. Maybe go to the curves and work with the brightness of the video. We don't want it to be so bright. Just a little bit of glow. The point is the little lines that go around the subject. That's the most important one. Go back here and I can just like extend it now that there isn't that brightness problem. Let's try to maybe darken the shadows to make those lines stand out. So once I have this, I'm just going to close everything off and you should have your Gaussian blur and then your Lumetri color. So if I bring my Lumetri color up, it's going to look way more intense. Let me just go back here and reduce the blur to a more reasonable amount. So like 130 is pretty good. Let me just increase my shadows so that I don't get that problem near the end. So I have my subject's glow. Things are looking good. Now let's take this a step further with another effect. Close this off, go to your effects panel and look for the chromatic aberrations, layer chromatic aberrations. Add this on your adjustment layer. You're going to get these lines, but once we work with each of these sliders, it's going to look better. So first we have point of interest. You can change that, and depending on the point, the aberrations will take place. So you can put it at the bottom, top, middle. It's really up to you. I'm going to stick with middle. And now we can work with each one. So red is on -10, but I can just work with that and make it look a little different. I'm going to stick with maybe -17. Green, you can add to that, remove from it. I will just perhaps add maybe 1. Blue, it's the same thing. I'm going to make it a little bit more vivid. Fallout distance, you can just work with this to make it less crazy. So let's stick with like a really low number. 0 is good. You can also invert the fallout. to get a different result. I'm going to stick with this. So my fall off is 0, and these are what I have for the points. If you wanted to limit this to just the subject's face or just her jewelry, you can grab the pen tool and make a mask. This way I will not have it on the background, or if there's like any other object, I can not have the effect on it. So I'm just going to make a mask like this. And now I don't get that blue line. Just be sure to keyframe the mask. Although we're good, it doesn't really go out of place throughout the whole video. Alright, so that's the chromatic aberration. Now we're just going to work with the way it looks. I'm just going to go back and work with each of the settings. If you want it to be more intense, you can copy and paste this and maybe put it above your lumetri color. So this will give you more of that effect and make your subject look more magical. On the top one, I'm just going to get a different color combo. So now she has more purple. Let's work with the blue. Get rid of the green. And that's what it looks like. If the effect is too much, you can just lower the mask opacity and get like a more subtle look. So there's my VR chromatic aberration. She has this glowing, colorful look. So now if you go back to any of these, you can just make this perfect. I'm going to increase my blur. I'm going to go back to my lumetri color and try to get a different look. So now my subject has this magical color separation effect on herself. And because she's wearing shiny jewelry, those guys are standing out with the Gaussian blur that we applied. So this is another like music video thing you can do, or like we said, a fun commercial. So with some fun music in the back, this will look great. This was before, this is after. You can also grab your adjustment layer, lower the overall opacity to get a more subtle look. Let's try 74, and that's looking good. So this was our second effect. Let's move on to the third one. I'm going to close this off and get our final video. Here I have a close-up of this person. Again, they're wearing jewelry, but we're just going to make this really intense. And this effect is more favorable in music videos than in jewelry commercials, unless you're doing like some cyberpunk retro look, but mostly this would be suitable for music videos. So what we're going to do is to duplicate our layer, put it right above, go to the effect controls, and we're going to add the find edges effect. This is another popular effect that we're going to use quite a lot moving forward. Grab it, effect controls, invert it, and now we get this kind of horror movie thing. Once we change the blend mode to screen, it's going to look better. So it's not that visible right now, but we're getting crisper details right now. So to make the edges stand out more, we're going to move to the lumetri colors, on deduplicate, basic correction, and we're going to minus from the blacks. Like so. And you can just change the way this looks. If you add more to like the exposure, you're going to get more of those lines. But leave exposure alone for now. And just work on the shadows and the blacks. So now we're going to add a glow effect. Let's go to VR glow. Add this right above. And by the way, this is what we have right now, but it's hard to see until we work with the right settings. So go to VR glow and we're going to minus from the threshold. So now before moving forward, I'm just going to work with my edges and then we can add on to it. So disable VR glue for now. Change your blend mode from screen to normal. Then go to Lumetri Color and decide how much of these lines you want in your video. By the way, I'm still on the duplicate, so make sure you're not selecting the original clip. So I'm going to bring back my blacks to 0 because I want more details. And this is going to look different on every clip. So just experiment. I will increase my shadows. Again, I want these finer details. Contrast is going to either add more or remove some. So do your adjustments in the Lumetri Color, and then once you're done, you can change this back to screen. There we are. Now I'm just going to close this off, bring back VR Glue, and we're just going to remove from the threshold. So there is the lines. This is all optional, by the way. You don't have to add these same numbers. It really depends on your video. I'm also going to use a tint color because I don't want white. Maybe let's add a blue color. Enable a use tint color. And now this is what it looks like. Once you have this, you want to increase the threshold so it doesn't go all over the video. 0.08, I think I'll go with purple. And I want it to kind of be in a different place from my actual subject. So go to motion, scale it up, and maybe push it to another side. So you can see that the lines are not exactly matching with the original video. And that's because we use these settings. Again, this is an optional step. So once I have my glue, we're going to grab the ProCamp effect, put it on, and using this I can change the hue of this whole thing. So I can make keyframes like we did in the previous example. So let's go to the start, keyframe for hue. And since this is an intense effect, I wanted to do 2 cycles. So 2 times 0 for 2 cycles. And now it's going to go through a variety of colors from the start till the end. Alright, so I have all of these stuff. You can also work with brightness, contrast, and saturation, just as we learned. Now, another thing that I want to do is to add some noise onto this. So go to Effects, get our noise effect. Add this right above. Effect controls. Let's bring this down and bring noise above our layers. Just pull it up like that, and you will not get that error. Remove color noise. And we're just going to increase let's go for 2. So I get this faint color situation on my subject. So it's looking pretty trippy, and that's perfect if I have a epic music video. It looks a little pixelated because of our resolution playback. But yeah, this is what it looks like. Now you can experiment with different blending modes. So color dodge is going to give you something like this. We saw what screen looks like. Linear dodge, overlay. These are all going to give you a different look. Play around and see which one you like. I think I will stick with color dodge. Let's go for 3. So now we're getting this noisy color changing look. By the way, you can use this if you want to show that your subject is in a party and things are looking really fun. So the light changes and the different noise textures on your subject's face will make it more realistic. So if this was your scene that you took with your camera, and well, she's not in a party right now, we just get these light changes, you can add this effect and make it look like she's at a disco or at a club. I will stick with the lighten effect. And if it's too much, you can just lower the opacity here. And if you wanted to like flash between different styles, you can do what we did earlier. So highlight both of your clips, go forward, Command K, and just cut this into different pieces. On the cuts that you want to do something different, simply change the blending mode. So I will go with lighter color on the first one and the third one. So now we have this epic party effect using the stuff that we learned about. So now this is what the video looks like. We have this crazy party effect, and the texture is making it really awesome. By adjusting the hue slider, the opacity slider, you can decide how much of the effect you want visible and just alter it to the way you want it to. You can also go back to lumetri color and maybe work with the shadows. So if you increase it more, you're going to get more of that grain. Decrease it, you're going to get really subtle lines. I'm going to stick with what I had before, and we're done with our third effect. So I hope you guys enjoyed these really simple glow effects that you can either use for your jewelry videos or music videos. I will see you guys in the next lesson.